Hello, welcome to Once Upon a Time in Black History. I'm your host, Tamara Shiloh, author, educator, and owner of the Multicultural Bookstore in Richmond, California. I have a new podcast that can be heard on Anchor, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Check us out and be sure to visit my website at onceuponatimeinblackhistory.com. On this episode of Once Upon a Time in Black History, I'm going to share with you the story of the real Iceman, Mr. Frederick McKinley Jones. He was keeping things cool. World War II was an era that spawned uses of numerous important inventions. If, for example, a soldier became critically wounded, blood loss was extremely dangerous. This resulted in the critical need for cooling units used to store and transport blood, medicine, and food for use in Army hospitals, military camps, and on open battlefields. One of the most creative African American inventors was Frederick McKinley Jones. He designed the portable units used throughout the war. You heard me. He was born in Covington, Kentucky in 1892, or 3, depends on who you talk to. Frederick's mother left the family soon after he was born, something you really don't see very often. So there's always a backstory there we'll never know. Things were really tough for young Frederick and his father. They were poverty-stricken, which is why Frederick's father placed him in a Catholic church home. You see, back then there were no orphanages that would accept African American boys. So, story goes that around 11, Frederick ran away. He had a real aptitude for mechanical work. Shucks, he was working as an auto mechanic by the age of 14. Okay. Moving around the Midwest and the South, he worked in steamship, furnace, and farm machinery repair and maintenance, all while continuing also as an auto mechanic. In 1912, he was around 19 years old. He moved to Hallock, Minnesota, where he worked as a mechanic on a 50,000-acre farm where he, the young man, was in charge of maintaining and repairing all machinery and cars. Go. When the farm was sold 2 years later, he remained in the area and worked repairing cars. He stayed in Hallock for the next 18 years, and the only time he left was to join the Army during World War I. After the military, he returned to Hallock and continued to learn mechanics and electronics. And mind you, he learned from personal experience rather than textbooks. Funny thing, his first claim to fame was when he built a transmitter for the town's new radio station and a machine to combine sound with motion pictures. Woohoo! So this led to a new career. He was hired by Joseph Numero in 1930 to improve the sound equipment made by his firm, Cinema Supplies Incorporated, in Minneapolis. I'm telling you, this young man was a pure genius. Then one day, Frederick overheard a conversation between his boss and a friend of his who owned a trucking company. Well, this would be the conversation that gave him the idea to create a refrigeration truck. And he did. The design was completed around 1938, and he received a patent for it on July 12, 1940. And being the honest guy that he was, he partnered with his boss, Numero, and they formed the U.S. Thermal Control Company. It was later named, remember this? Thermo King Corporation. And by 1949, it became a $3 million business. Imagine $3 million in 1949. That was a very successful business. That was a lot of money back then. And now, too, really. He didn't stop with trucks. He later developed transportable refrigeration for trains, ships, and planes. His career created 61 patents, 40 of which involved refrigeration systems. The condenser microphone was one invention that he never patented, along with a portable x-ray machine at the request of a doctor in Halle. Both inventions were eventually patented by someone else, but he was the first, I'm just saying. He became the first African American member of the American Society of Refrigeration Engineers in 1944. I didn't even know there was such a thing. During the 1950s, he consulted with various branches of the U.S. government, including the Department of Defense and the Bureau of Standards. Woohoo! He died from lung cancer on February 21st, 1961, in Minneapolis. He was inducted posthumously into the Minnesota Inventors Hall of Fame in 1977. If you'd like to read more about him, you should visit www.biography.com or transportation.gov. You've been listening to Once Upon a Time in Black History. My name is Tamara Shiloh. Hope to see you next time. Take care.